The pale yellow house in Whitewood, a black woman's unraveling of her fiancé's double life, how a move to a frozen-in-time town exposed a marriage that never ended, a child he never mentioned, and the lies that built a false future. 3 weeks ago, I packed up my life, my son's too, and moved to Whitewood, a town that feels like it's been frozen in time since the 1950s. It was supposed to be a new beginning. My fiancé, James, had landed this big deal job with great pay, better benefits, and the kind of opportunity that only knocks once. I was proud of him, really. I helped him through the whole process. Mock interviews, wardrobe makeovers, trimmed his beard myself with the same clippers I used to use back when I worked in an office. Hell, I even lent him some of my old office supplies. We were in it together. Even though Whitewood was 2 hours away from my family and friends, I told myself it was fine, just to drive. I've done longer commutes for less. Besides, James and I were in this fairy tale phase of life, engaged, hopeful, on the edge of something new. He was excited. I was excited. Our son, Noah, was just happy to have a bigger backyard. Of course, not everyone was thrilled. My mum had her concerns. She's got that sixth sense that Caribbean mums are born with. You know, the one that sees danger in plain sight before you even spot a cloud in the sky. She didn't like that we were moving to a place with no family nearby, and definitely didn't like that it was a predominantly white town. Still, she gave her blessing with a prayer and a side eye. My ex, a different story. He completely lost it. Noah's dad is complicated, narcissistic to say the least. He went ballistic when he found out about the move, claiming I was stealing his son, that I was trying to erase him. Mind you, I have sole custody, and I offered to meet halfway for pickups. His rage only got worse after I refused his ridiculous offer to get back together and start fresh, as if I forgot the cheating, the lies, the bruises. But none of that mattered at the time. We were stepping into something new, or so I thought. It didn't take long to notice something was off. Whitewood is quiet, but not peaceful quiet. More like people watch you through the blinds quiet. The kind of town where everyone knows everyone, and everyone definitely knows when someone new arrives, especially if that someone is a black woman with braids and a bright smile that doesn't fade easily. I swear I've gotten more stares in 3 weeks than I have my entire life. The kind that make your skin crawl, like you're some kind of rare animal that wandered out of its habitat. There was this woman who nearly crashed her car, trying to get a better look at me, while I was on the way to pick up Noah from school. And this old man, he walked 4 houses down the block just to peek inside my parked car, like he needed proof I was real. It would have been bearable, maybe even laughable, if James had my back. But that's when things started getting weird. Every time we go out grocery shopping, hardware store, antique store, he suggests we separate. Like, I'll grab this, you go grab that. At first I didn't question it, thought he was just being efficient. But then it became a pattern. It wasn't about shopping, it was about being seen, or more specifically, not being seen not together. The first time, I let it go. Second time, I made a joke. Third time, I asked him about it. Babe, he said, I've just been feeling kind of clingy lately. Figured we could spread out and be quicker. It didn't sit right, especially since we visited some old friends the following weekend, and suddenly he was back to being his usual affectionate self, holding my hand, whispering jokes in my ear, doing that thing where he kisses my temple just to make me laugh. So what changed? I started paying attention. Every time we went somewhere in town where he might run into co-workers, he went cold, distant. It hit me hard. He didn't want to be seen with me. Not in this town. I brought it up again gently, told him how I felt. He brushed it off again, apologized, promised a nice weekend together to make up for it. Even brought home flowers and wine one evening. But something about it felt rehearsed, like he was playing a part. Then came the weirdest night yet. He picked a time for his gym session, 6:00 p.m., right during our usual dinner. I didn't mind too much until I told him my trainer wanted to combine our sessions. Suddenly, he was all about rescheduling, said maybe Saturday would be better. Later that week, right before his supposed gym session, we had a random argument. Nothing big, something dumb about where I put the laundry basket, but it escalated fast. He yelled, stormed out in his favorite shirt, the one he wore on our second date, his date shirt and his good watch. Who wears their best outfit to the gym? I texted him something casual but pointed, kind of dressed up to lift weights, aren't you? 5 minutes later, he was back at the door, claiming he changed his mind. said he was just going to the pub instead. Then, as if nothing happened, he starts talking about how much he loves me. I didn't buy it. And now I can't stop connecting the dots. Weekday dinners suddenly skipped, early morning wake-ups every day like clockwork, visits to work I was once invited to now being pushed off. Something isn't right. Maybe it's stress. Maybe it's guilt. Or maybe, just maybe, he's hiding something. Someone. And worst of all, I think he's ashamed not of cheating, but of me. And that cuts deeper than anything else ever could. The next morning, I sat on the back porch, watching the mist roll over the grass like it was trying to swallow the whole house. My coffee had gone cold, untouched. Noah was inside, still asleep, and I was there alone with my thoughts heavy, tangled, angry. James came out quietly, as if walking on eggshells. He kissed the top of my head and murmured, "Morning," but I didn't respond. I couldn't. Something inside me was screaming. He sat down across from me, folding his hands like he was bracing for a meeting, not a morning with his fiancée. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said," he started, eyes low, like he couldn't bear to meet mine. "And I just want you to know, I love you. I love you and Noah more than anything." His words felt scripted, like a speech prepared in the mirror. I wanted to believe him, but I couldn't ignore the inconsistencies, the lies hidden in plain sight. "I don't feel loved," I whispered. He flinched. "What do you mean?" "I've been trying." "No," I cut him off. "You've been trying to cover something. I feel it. The disappearing acts, the changing stories, the sudden fights before dinner. You're hiding something, James." The silence that followed stretched like a rubber band about to snap. He opened his mouth, then shut it, rubbed his forehead. "It's work," he finally said. "It's just been stressful, trying to prove myself. I've been distant, yeah, but it's not because I'm ashamed of you. Never." But even as he said it, I saw something shift in his eyes, like a door closing before I could peek inside. That night, I decided to follow him. He said he had a late meeting with one of the directors, said he'd be home by 8. So at 6:15, I dropped Noah off at my new neighbor's, a sweet woman named Mara, who'd been friendly since day one, and I followed him. He didn't go to the office. He didn't even drive toward downtown. He pulled into a quiet neighborhood I didn't recognize, parked, and walked inside a pale yellow house with flower boxes on the windows. I parked a few houses down, heart racing. I waited. 20 minutes passed. 30. Then I saw her. A woman stepped out onto the porch, young, blonde, wearing a shirt I swear I saw in our laundry once. She looked around, then stepped back inside. I sat frozen, hands gripping the steering wheel, my chest tight with 1,000 emotions clawing their way up. Anger, betrayal, disbelief. Was this what he was protecting? Not his image, not his job, but her? I didn't cry. Not then. Not until I was back home, lights off, Noah in bed, and the clock ticking like it was judging me. That's when I finally let it go. The tears, the rage, the fear. Because the truth wasn't just that James might be cheating. The truth was, I had moved our lives for someone who didn't have the courage to love me out loud. Not in this town, not in front of his colleagues, and maybe not even in front of himself. And the twist, the pale yellow house wasn't a stranger's. It belonged to James's sister, a sister he never told me about, a sister who looked nothing like him, biracial like Noah. She wasn't the affair. She was the secret. And she had a daughter, one who bore an eerie resemblance to James. My breath hitched. This wasn't just about shame or cheating. It was about a whole other life he had never shared. And suddenly, I wasn't just the outsider in Whitewood. I was the outsider in his story. And that was betrayal in its rawest form. But betrayal rarely stands alone. It always drags shadows behind it. That night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow circles like the thoughts in my head, my phone buzzed. A message from a number I didn't recognize. He's lying to both of us. My heart stopped. There was a photo attached, James, standing in front of the same pale yellow house, but this time holding a toddler with the same hazel eyes as Noah. I couldn't breathe. Was the girl his niece or his daughter? The betrayal deepened, shifted form. It wasn't just emotional now, it was generational. And I had no idea who the real James was anymore, or what else he had buried beneath that polished, perfect fiancé smile. The next morning I made a call I never thought I'd make to my mum. "Baby girl," she said, her voice soft but sharp, like steel wrapped in velvet. "Didn't I tell you I felt something off?" The moment you said Whitewood, I told her everything about the woman, the house, the child, the text message. She didn't say I told you so. She didn't have to. Instead, she said something I hadn't considered. You need to dig real careful, because men like that, they don't just hide mistresses, they hide whole histories. I spent the day going through his things, not snooping, not anymore, investigating. And there it was, tucked into a folder in the back of the closet, a letter, postmarked 5 years ago, addressed to James from a woman named Emily. The handwriting was delicate, familiar. Inside the envelope, a birth certificate. The father's name, James Michael Carter. The child, Lily Elise Emily Carter, born 4 years ago, a year after we started dating. I wasn't the first family he built, and I was never meant to be the only one. I sat on the edge of the bed, fingers curled into the comforter, trying to hold on to anything that felt solid. The weight of it all pressed into my chest, like 100 unsaid truths, finally screaming through the silence. It wasn't just betrayal. It was abandonment cloaked in affection, lies sewn into the very fabric of our home. Somewhere out there, another woman tucked her daughter in at night, maybe humming the same lullabies I sang to Noah, maybe believing the same soft promises James once whispered in my ear. Maybe she had a drawer full of his shirts too. Maybe she never had to wonder if she was enough. And here I was, the other woman without ever knowing it, living in a curated corner of a life that was never fully mine. A guest in my own story. The realization didn't just burn. It tore like the slow rip of paper, peeling away every version of the future I had carefully folded with him. What we had wasn't love. It was a performance. And I had been cast in a role I never auditioned for, and still I loved him or the man I thought he was. That's what hurt the most. Grieving someone who was still alive, still laughing, still kissing foreheads and pretending like he didn't leave graves behind him in every town he passed through. And now I had to figure out how to bury the fantasy without burying myself alongside it. Chapter 3. Beneath the surface, I didn't sleep that night. How could I? My world had folded in on itself, a house of mirrors where every reflection of James was fractured. But grief has a way of sharpening instincts, and mine were suddenly razor sharp. By morning, I'd packed a bag for Noah and me, told Mara I'd be out of town for a few days, and dropped him off at my mum's. She didn't ask questions. She just held me in that strong, unshakable way Caribbean mothers do, as if her arms alone could anchor me back to truth. Then I drove not to work, not to James, but to the courthouse in the next town over. I needed answers that only public records could provide. It took hours and more than a few side eyes from the clerks, but I found them: birth records, real estate documents, even a marriage license from 7 years ago. His name listed next to Emily's. It was never dissolved. They were never divorced. He wasn't just living a double life. He was still married. My breath left me. A soft whimper escaped before I even realized I was crying. My hands shook as I copied everything, scanned it into my phone. I felt like I was floating outside my body, watching my life unravel from above. That night, I waited for him, cooked dinner, set the table, lit candles. When he walked in and saw it all, he smiled, confused. Special occasion? I handed him the envelope. He sat. He read, slowly, quietly. Then he looked up at me, pale, mouth open, words frozen. "You're still married," I said. "You have a daughter. You lied to me about everything." He started stammering, excuses tumbling out like marbles, slippery, chaotic. It was complicated. Emily and I were separated. I didn't know how to tell you. I stood, calm, collected. "You had years, and you chose silence. You chose performance." He reached for my hand, but I pulled back. "Noah and I are leaving," I said. "You can explain yourself in court." As I turned to leave, he whispered something that stopped me cold. "She knew about you." I turned. "What? Emily? She knew. She wanted it this way. Said if I left her, she'd ruin me. She's the one who sent the text." I stared at him. "So she's not your victim?" He shook his head slowly. "Neither of us are." And suddenly, the final puzzle piece slid into place. This wasn't just betrayal. It was collusion, a twisted, codependent dance of secrets and half-truths. I walked out anyway because whether he was a pawn or a player, I wasn't staying on the board.